Hello everyone, it's Fjeller. So let's do this Forbidden Battleground. So this is the first Battleground in the 5th run of this event. And this is the Strategic Masters clear. And it's called Strategic Masters clear, but it's actually just an Empire's Honor clear because honestly, like, all the useful Strategic Masters characters for SRs are just like, they're just Empire characters. So this map is pretty annoying. There's like these stupid flyers that come in and just like teleport all your guys around them and then keep doing AoE damage to you. So the easiest way to just kill them. So of course I brought Olivier, who is a great archer, and he has a ton of attack when he's at 100% life. So it works pretty well for a situation like this where you just want to like rush and just kill them all before they do anything annoying. I also brought Lance to buff, of course, and Lance actually gets some play here because, you know, he does have an advantage against flyers and cavalry, so there's plenty of flyers here, so Lance, of course, is pretty good at fighting them. And for once, his 3C is actually doing some work. You know, I make fun of his 3C a lot, and that's because it's garbage, but this is one of those maps where there are plenty of flyers for him to be fighting, so, you know, you actually get some use here. So this flyer could have done a draw-in skill instead of using that weird net skill, but it really doesn't matter in this case. You know, if he drew me in, then like, you know, Vargas would have been drawn in, and you know, Vargas can take these hits pretty easily. So I'm just moving down and just like baiting them in a little bit more. So this fight is so, you know, you just have to bait them in, like, don't get overwhelmed. This is often something that happens in these Forbidden Battleground fights, is where they just like throw so many enemies at you and they're all coming at you. So the purpose of like baiting him like this is because I really just want to get the stupid flyer out of guard range of the Lobster. Lobster has a 3 range guard and also a 2 range counter. So I attack into this flyer and Vargas actually dies from it. It doesn't matter though, because this is like why Vargas is OP. Like you know, his 3C is just kind of ridiculous. He'll just revive like 3 times during the fight. And this makes it very easy to get those feats where it says like, you know, beat the map without having anybody die. And of course Lance should have no problem taking out this Harpy. He has class advantage against it, and you know, he heals himself before battle thanks to his 3C. So this part is like, okay, so like the AI is kind of weird. Like sometimes when it feels like they can't reach certain targets, they just stand in place. So that's what happened there. It's not necessary to win, but you know, it does make things easier. So I brought Guardian Infantry on Vargas, and that's mostly because of this stupid skeleton who has infantry soldiers out front, right? If I brought Lancer soldiers, then that wouldn't have really helped. So you might notice on the side that I have like not placed an armor slot for Emmerich, and that's because I actually forgot to completely equip Emmerich before you know, I jumped into the map. I didn't realize until after I was done that I actually didn't have any armor on him. But you know, it's like I beat the map without it, so it seems like it's fine without it. So here's a pretty good example of why Lance is terrible. You know, watch him use his 3C on an enemy with like 20% life left over, and he still couldn't kill it. So the rest of the map is pretty straightforward. You know, I just have to chip away at these guys until they die. And chip is right because these units I brought just are not that good at dealing damage. Emmerich does okay damage, and so does Olivier, but Olivier needs to remain at 100% life to deal good damage. And it also doesn't help that I don't have a lot of life left over on a lot of my units, and that's because Imelda had to bring Queen's Whip, in order to kill that flyer at the start, make Olivia be able to kill that flyer at the start, so my healing power is actually very weak, and as you can see, like, Vargas is only at like 20% life. It's not so bad though, because as you can see, Vargas is just so tanky. Like, he has so much defense that he just doesn't care. So really there's nothing left for this this left side of the map other than to just take out these guys. You know, obviously I use Emmerich to just lock down this guard, so you know, I don't have to deal with it as much. But aside from that, it's just chipping away at these guys until they die. Imelda's going to be able to do a decent amount of damage here because, you know, she does do magic damage, and the lobster sucks at taking that. So Lance has a Ragnarok, so I just chip those train guards before battle. So another thing about Olivier, of course, is that you notice that I'm using a crystal, the crystal stinger dagger on him, and I think without that I wouldn't have been able to kill the flyer at the start. So you do need a pretty strong Olivier if you want to kill them quickly. I can't think of any other strategic masters archers that will be able to like fly out like that and kill them, because the only other strategic masters archer I think I can think of is Illustria, and obviously she can't run onto the sky tiles. But yeah, if you want to take care of those flyers quickly, then I think Olivier is your best bet here. So the final obstacle for this map is just that those stupid archers are ballistas on the right side of the map. Now, they kind of placed and designed these ballistas in a very obnoxious way. So they just stand in place, they never approach you. It's not like the catapults that they placed in some of the other Forbidden Battlegrounds. These guys just stand in place forever, and they just wait for you to approach them. They also have like, what is it, like, I think like 7 attack range. So, because of their incredibly high attack range, and the fact that they actually hit really hard, there's only a very limited amount of ways you can approach them. So first, like, they hit hard enough that I noticed that a lot of the SR characters, even if they're wearing like last rites and stuff, it's like they have a pretty hard time surviving. Unless you just have like really good bulk enchants. So pretty much the only way to approach these guys easily is to either have like a really high movement unit, or have a tank that can take hits very easily. And in this case, of course, I have Vargas, who can take hits pretty well. You know, these so another thing about these ballistas is like they do more damage the further away you are from them. It matters a little bit, but honestly, like, most teams are probably going to be like 3 move units and stuff, so you're going to be taking some pretty hard hits one way or the other, most likely. So at least for the Strategic Masters clear, if you have, I mean, at least as far as SRs goes, there's really not a lot of units that have really high movement. So my only choice here is to just kind of face tank my way through here, which again isn't a problem because Vargas is really OP, but as we'll see with the Meteor Strike clear in a second, that is a lot less viable of an option there. Okay, so I just gotta finish these guys off. So I make sure I don't attack with Lance because I just want to leave him in guard range. Like, Lance would not be able to survive these shots, so yeah. In fact, as you can see, they even get through Vargas, who has plenty of defense. But thankfully, thanks to all of Vargas's revives, you know, I just need to chip away at them and they'll be dead. Alright, so time to finish this guy off with Olivier. That's going to be the Strategic Masters clear for Forbidden Battleground 5-1. So the next one is going to be the Meteor Strike clear, and that one was way tougher to do. Meteor Strike is often, like, it is usually the faction that's hardest to do this SR challenge with. So as you can see here, I actually placed Narm and Sherry on this team. So I'm using an SSR, but Sherry is free, so like I don't think that's too bad. In this case, I did not use their SP classes, so because I kind of feel like SP classes are kind of like borderline in terms of whether or not I should allow myself to use them on these SR clears. But as you can see, like I kind of go for the same sort of strategy here. I just want to take out these flyers very quickly because if I don't, they just have so many abilities that reach across the entire map and just makes things really annoying. So of course I weaken the one at the bottom with Altina with her Sky Archers, and then Narm is able to take it the rest of the way. And then I use Phyrekia to just fish one of the ones on the top over and just finish them off. So the problem with Meteor Strike is that they don't really have they don't have a healer at all. Actually, they don't have like a straight healer, at least not yet. And the only tank you have available to you for SR clears is Kuwabara. Kuwabara can sort of work, but I think in order for Kuwabara to work properly, it kind of needs like really high investment. And I did not invest that hard into Kuwabara. So as you can see, like Sherry actually kills herself while attacking in that stupid flyer, but I did bring the 1-up t-shirt, so that's not going to be a problem. So Alfred works pretty well here. You know, he's kind of like a moderately tanky DPS character, and he can heal himself not just because of not just with these new Sandsea mercenaries, but also because he has the first aid skill. He's also fairly tanky, as I mentioned. Like most aquatic characters can be made to be fairly tanky. For this left side of for the left side of the map, as I mentioned earlier, like one of the biggest annoyances are these flyers. Like they do all these annoying effects like draw in and stuff, and then they do AoEs. So that's why I stunned it with stunned this one with Sherry the turn before, because I really just didn't want to deal with it. And as you can see, like I kind of have just everybody dogpiling on them, just so that it won't bother me as much. So I'm going to continue backing off a little bit with Alfred here. This way he only takes one hit at a time. It's unlikely he would be able to survive more than one hit. These guys have a lot of attack. One useful thing, of course, is Alfred's exclusive. Alfred's exclusive pretty much makes it so that, like, his exclusive plus his 3C makes it so that he's like in water the majority of the time, and that helps his tankiness. I also gave him a flower boom bonnet, as you can see. Like that obviously is very helpful here. It allows him to stay healthy. So this part of the map like is just very annoying because like there's two tanks on the enemy side, and like one of them heals all of them, and sometimes they throw out AoEs, and it just becomes really irritating. There's not much to do here other than to try to use Narm to try to pin them to the ground and then take out the enemies one at a time, or you can focus fire on the lobster and try to take him out. A few tools I'm using to like make it a little bit easier on myself. Like I said, Narm is here. Narm can mow down on the tanks, or at least one tank, and it'll make it slightly easier. Altina brought Cleanse, which is actually a very nice skill to have here. Like if you use Cleanse on like the Treant or whatever, you could potentially remove his guard skill plus his regeneration skill, which makes things a bit easier. But mostly it's going to be you know, using this bridge as a choke point and then like placing two relatively tanky DPS here to take the hits, while all the ranged units just kind of dog pile onto the rest of them. And of course there's also Narm just pinning down the stupid lobster, because the lobster is just probably the most annoying unit here. Another factor is that this skeleton, anytime you hit it, it will give a shield to every other unit on the map. So or like it will reduce damage taken to every unit on the map. So like when you have to like make sure you attack in the right order. If you attack something else, you want to attack them before the skeleton. So you can see like I kind of avoid attacking some turns because like I just don't want to take that much damage on the counter. So yeah, this part of the map is going to be like kind of tedious because like my units just aren't that strong in terms of damage, so I just kind of have to like keep hitting him until they finally crumble over, which might take a while. Okay. So as I mentioned, like I'll tune up our cleanse, and once you get past the stupid infantry soldiers, obviously, like demon effective skills are effective on them, so you can use cleanse and stuff. And Phrygia has Sorks out front, which of course is also useful. The lobster especially takes a lot more magic damage. So right here, I kind of figured like Sherry is pretty low on HP, so I didn't really want to risk attacking. And Alfred shouldn't have a problem taking hits from both these guys. Because the lobster attacks first. Although I guess it would have been better if the Treant attacked first, but either way, like because Alfred is using infantry soldiers, it's not a big deal. So annoyingly, this stupid Treant like has like the revive, so it also regenerates like a fair amount of HP every time you attack it. It's just very irritating. So as I mentioned earlier, like for the final part of this map, which is where you have to reach the ballista, you know, as I mentioned, you want to either have a tank or units that can take the hits. So I tried doing the latter for a while, and then I realized like the Meteor Strike units just are like very frail, at least with the equipment I have. So that was not going to be an option. So that is why I decided to bring Alfred. You know, I tried using Kuwabara for a little bit, but like Kuwabara, like he couldn't quite tank both shots like continuously, so that was not an option. So instead, I'm going to bring the only Meteor Strike SR character that has a fair movement range, and in this case, of course, that is Alfred. So Alfred kind of saves the day here. You know, otherwise I would have to like approach them very slowly, and that just isn't going to work. They one-shot pretty much my entire team except for Alfred, and Alfred himself actually gets a two-shot here, even though he's a fairly tanky unit. So I'm gonna like kind of stand here for a couple turns. Because I need not only for Alfred's water to come back up from his exclusive, but I also want to do a sprint from Narm so that Alfred is going to have an attack buff. Otherwise, I don't think Alfred is going to be able to one-shot one of the. I should have used first aid earlier, by the way, like just so I could have it up. But anyway, like if I sprint, Alfred here. Just make sure he has enough attack power to hopefully one-shot one of the ballistas. But because aside from Alfred, like there's no other SR Meteor Strike unit that can reach this far. There's only like if I allowed myself to use SP Narm or SP Sherry, then obviously like it would be a lot easier. But that wouldn't work in this case, or at least I tried to avoid using them in this case. So Alfred's gonna save the day here, as you can see. With the sprint buff, he is able to one-shot them. Without the sprint buff, he could not one-shot them. He needed the sprint buff, and he needed to rock all those blocks to count for his talent, and then he needed to use his 3C, which is a pretty strong attack. And as you can see right here, like it just hits so hard. And this is against like, you know, a relatively tanky unit. So I really don't have any choice here. Like the only thing I can do is to just walk up straight up into its face. And, like, nobody else can really run in here because they're just gonna get attacked. So this is where, like, the Flower Boom Bonnet is really coming in. So it's just gonna be Alfred trying to counter this guy to death. Alright, so I do one last hit here. Heals back up from Flower Boom Bonnet, plus the Mercenaries, and that is enough to take it out on the counter on the final turn. So that is the Meteor Strike clear, and that is the 5-1 for Forbidden Battleground. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.